Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into Dawn French's weight loss journey.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, should be a good one.
Yeah.
We've got a bunch of entertainment news articles to dig through today.
Okay.
So, for anyone who might not be familiar with her, Dawn French is this super well-known British comedian and actress.
Mm-hmm.
But what I think is going to be really interesting today is how her story kind of intersects with those big picture topics of health and body image.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And societal expectations too, the kind of stuff we all face.
Absolutely. And you know what I think is particularly fascinating about Dawn's story is that her decision to lose weight, it wasn't about fitting into some Hollywood mold or anything like that.
Right.
It was actually prompted by a health scare, which led her to make this really practical decision, but it ended up having some really profound consequences,
Okay, so let's rewind a bit back to 2011.
Okay.
Dawn had a cancer scare that was related to her uterus.
Right.
What can you tell us about that?
Well, there was this concern that she might have uterine cancer.
Oh, wow.
And while the first biopsy thankfully came back clear, her doctors ordered a second one just to be absolutely certain.
Okay.
And it was during this time, while she was facing this potential diagnosis, that Dawn decided to have a hysterectomy.
So it was like a proactive decision to protect her health.
Exactly.
But this is where the weight loss journey comes in, right?
Yes, that's right.
So how are the two connected?
Well, her doctors advised her that losing weight before the surgery would be really beneficial.
Okay.
It would allow them to perform a less invasive laparoscopic hysterectomy.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's referred to as keyhole surgery,
Oh, okay.
which typically means a much faster recovery time.
Wow, I didn't realize that there were different types of hysterectomies.
Yeah.
That makes total sense, though. Less invasive, quicker recovery.
Yeah.
So it sounds like this wasn't about some crash diet or extreme makeover.
No.
It was about taking control of her health in a very practical way.
Exactly. And she really committed to it too, Dawn ended up losing a remarkable 7.5 stone,
Wow.
going from 19 stone down to 11.5.
That's a huge amount of weight.
It is.
I'm not really familiar with the term stone, though.
Oh, right, yeah. So for those who aren't familiar with stone, that's a weight loss of over 100 pounds.
Oh, wow.
She essentially shed the equivalent of an average adult.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
But I remember reading that Dawn herself said there was no magic bullet involved.
Right. She's been very upfront about that.
Yeah.
It was a combination of a strict low-calorie diet, which she candidly described as joyless, and a significant increase in walking.
Okay, so weeks and weeks of dedicated effort.
Yeah.
It really speaks to her determination to prioritize her health and well-being.
Mm-hmm.
It's clear that she wanted the best possible outcome for her surgery
Absolutely.
and was willing to put in the work.
Yeah, and her efforts paid off.
Yeah.
Dawn was able to have the less invasive laparoscopic hysterectomy, and just as her doctors predicted, she had a much quicker recovery time.
That's great.
So yeah, we see that her weight loss was directly tied to a very specific health goal.
Right.
But you have to wonder, being in the public eye, how did the world react to her transformation?
Right, because you'd think that people would be supportive,
Yeah, you would think so.
understanding, especially given the circumstances.
Mhm.
But I have a feeling it wasn't all sunshine and roses.
You're right about that. Unfortunately, Dawn received quite a bit of what we might call well-intentioned,
Oh, no.
but ultimately backhanded commentary. Hate that.
It's fascinating, isn't it? How we as a society react to these things.
Well, give us an example. What
Especially-
kind of comments were people making?
People would constantly say things like, you look so well.
Okay.
On the surface, it seems positive, right?
Yeah, you'd think so.
But there's this underlying implication there, suggesting that she didn't look well before.
Oh, I see what you mean. Right.
It's like her health and well-being were only acknowledged after she lost the weight.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost as if people were implicitly saying, now you're acceptable.
Precisely. And it reveals this societal bias that links a person's worth to their appearance.
It's a subtle but pervasive way of judging people based on how they look.
And Dawn, being the strong, independent woman she is,
Right.
was not having it.
I can only imagine.
What was her response to these types of comments? She was very vocal about her frustration.
Good for her.
Dawn emphasized that she doesn't seek external approval for her body. She lost weight for her own reasons on her own terms.
Yeah.
And she certainly wasn't looking for anyone's validation.
Good for her. It's so important to own your choices
It is.
and not let societal pressures dictate how you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
It makes you think, though, doesn't it? Like, why do we feel the need to comment on other people's bodies at all?
That's a great question, and it's something I think about a lot. There's a lot to unpack there in terms of social conditioning, implicit biases,
Right.
and our culture's obsession with appearance.
It's especially complex for women in the public eye who are constantly scrutinized for their looks.
Absolutely, and it's even more interesting when we consider what happened next in Dawn's journey.
You're talking about her weight regain in 2020?
Yes.
Okay.
This is where I think things get really intriguing.
What can you tell us about that?
Well, in 2020, Dawn very candidly admitted that she had gained some weight back.
Okay.
She even described herself as back to being an entire barrel.
Huh. So she experienced some weight fluctuation,
Yeah,
which, let's be honest, is completely normal.
it is.
Lots of people go through that.
It's a part of life.
Yeah, our bodies change over time. It's just a natural part of life.
Absolutely. But what I find truly inspiring is Dawn's attitude about it.
Okay.
She very bluntly said, and I quote, "I don't give a fefk so long as I can walk."
Wow. Okay, that's powerful.
She's completely shifted the focus from appearance to functionality and well-being.
Exactly.
And that's what I find so admirable about Dawn.
Yeah.
She refuses to dislike her body, regardless of size.
That's amazing.
Her focus is on health and how she feels, not on conforming to some arbitrary beauty standard.
It's like she's saying, this is me, take it or leave it.
Exactly. I love that. It's a powerful message of self-acceptance, especially in a world that's constantly trying to tell us how we should look.
And this brings us to another layer of complexity in her story, the whole idea of societal expectations, especially for women in the public eye.
Right.
Because Dawn's been in the entertainment industry for decades. She's hilarious, talented, and she's never shied away from being herself, regardless of size.
Right, and that makes the reaction to her weight loss even more revealing about our cultural biases, you know?
How so?
Well, it's like people couldn't reconcile the idea that someone could be both happy and healthy at a larger size.
Oh, I see what you're saying. It's almost as though losing weight was seen as some kind of improvement.
Right.
Like she was somehow fixing herself.
Yeah. Exactly. It plays into this dangerous narrative that weight loss is always a good thing, regardless of the reason behind it.
Right.
It ignores the fact that people can be healthy and fulfilled at different sizes.
And it also completely disregards the individual's own feelings about their body.
Complete.
Like, maybe Dawn was perfectly content before.
Absolutely, but our culture is so obsessed with thinness, especially for women,
Right.
that we often jump to conclusions about someone's well-being based solely on their weight.
So it wasn't just about the backhanded compliments.
No.
It was about this underlying assumption that Dawn must have been unhappy or unhealthy at her previous weight.
Exactly.
It really makes you think about how ingrained these biases are in our society.
It does, and that brings us to the heart of what makes Dawn's story so important. Despite facing these judgments and pressures, she ultimately chose to prioritize her own self-acceptance.
And she did it in a way that was so authentically Dawn French.
Yeah,
Bold, honest, and unapologetically herself.
I love
It's inspiring to see someone so comfortable in their own skin, despite what the world might say.
it. Really is. And her "I don't give a hefk so long as I can walk" statement perfectly encapsulates that attitude.
Right.
It speaks volumes about her shifting priorities and her evolving relationship with her body.
Right. It's like she's saying, I'm done with the societal pressure to look a certain way.
Exactly.
I'm going to focus on what truly matters, my health and happiness.
Exactly. And I think that's a message we can all take to heart.
Absolutely. Before we move on, though,
Okay.
there's one more incident we need to talk about.
Okay.
It really highlights the importance of critical thinking and not believing everything you see online.
You're talking about the fake keto diet ad, right?
That's the one. So
Yeah.
picture this. You're scrolling through the internet
Okay.
and you come across an ad featuring Dawn French
Hmm.
raving about how she lost all this weight using a keto diet.
Oh, wow.
Sounds convincing, right? Especially with a celebrity endorsement.
Definitely.
But as we know, things aren't always what they seem.
That's right.
It was completely fabricated.
Wow.
Dawn took to social media to call out the fake advertisement,
Good for her.
setting the record straight that she had never used a keto diet for weight loss.
It was a classic example of how deceptive marketing tactics prey on people's desires for quick fixes, especially in the weight loss industry.
And unfortunately, not everyone is as savvy as Dawn in spotting these scams.
Yeah, that's true.
It really underscores the importance of being critical consumers of information, especially online.
Absolutely.
Don't just take things at face value.
Mm-hmm.
Do your research, check your sources, and remember if it sounds too good to be true.
It probably is.
So I think we've covered a lot of ground here,
Yeah, we have.
but there's still so much more to unpack.
There is.
What stands out to you about what we've learned so far?
I think what strikes me most is how Dawn's story challenges these ingrained societal notions about weight and worth.
Yeah.
It really makes you question those assumptions, doesn't it?
It really does, and it makes me want to dig even deeper into how she navigated those pressures and ultimately emerged as such a strong advocate for self-acceptance.
Well, then let's do that.
All right, listeners, we're going to take a quick pause here.
Okay.
When we come back, we'll delve even further into Dawn French's journey,
Right.
exploring the complexities of self-love and how she learned to embrace her body on her own terms.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned.
I'm excited to hear more.
Me too.
Okay.
All right, see you after the break.
See you after the break.
Bye.
Welcome back, everyone. Before the break, we were talking about that deceptive keto diet ad that Dawn French had to debunk.
Yeah, that whole situation, it really got me thinking about how vulnerable we are to those kind of scams, especially when they play on our insecurities.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, what are your thoughts on why those quick fix solutions are so alluring, especially in the weight loss industry?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it has to do with our desire for instant gratification, you know. We live in a world where everything is so fast-paced and on demand. We want results and we want them now.
Yeah.
And the diet industry, they capitalize on that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They promise this rapid weight loss, often with minimal effort.
Right.
It's a seductive message,
Yeah.
you know, especially for those who have struggled with their weight for a long time.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
It's like that old saying, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
exactly.
But I think there's also a deeper emotional element at play too, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think for many people, weight loss is tied to these feelings of self-worth and acceptance. They believe that if they could just lose those extra pounds, they would finally be happy, confident, and worthy of love.
It's almost as if we've been conditioned to believe that our value is directly linked to our size.
Right.
It's a really harmful message, and it's something that Dawn French has actively challenged throughout her career.
Right, and that's what makes her story so powerful. She refused to let those societal pressures define her worth.
Yeah.
Remember when she talked about regaining some weight and said, "I don't give a FK so long as I can walk"?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That statement, that really resonated with me.
Me too. There's a real sense of liberation in those words.
Yeah.
It's like she's saying, I'm done letting the scale dictate my happiness. I'm going to focus on what truly matters, my health and well-being.
Exactly, and I think it's a powerful reminder that true health and happiness, they're not determined by our dress size.
Right.
It's about taking care of our bodies, both physically and mentally,
Yeah.
and accepting ourselves as we are.
It's about finding that inner peace and self-love,
Yes.
regardless of external pressures.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And, Dawn's journey from feeling pressured to lose weight for her surgery
Right.
to embracing her body at any size, it's a testament to the power of self-acceptance.
It really is, and it makes you wonder, what was that turning point for her? What led to that shift in perspective?
It's hard to say for sure, but I think part of it may have been the backlash she received after losing weight.
Oh, interesting.
Those backhanded compliments,
Right.
the constant focus on her appearance. It likely highlighted the fact that even after achieving the ideal body,
Right.
those societal pressures and judgments, they didn't just magically disappear.
That's a really insightful point.
Yeah.
It's like she realized that chasing external validation was a never-ending cycle.
Exactly. And perhaps that realization helped her to shift her focus inward, to prioritize her own feelings and well-being above those societal expectations.
So instead of seeking approval from others,
Yeah.
she started seeking it from herself.
Precisely. And that, I believe, is the key to true self-acceptance.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that our worth is inherent, not dependent on external factors like our weight or appearance.
And it's about giving ourselves permission to be happy and content in our own skin, regardless of what the world might say.
Absolutely, and that brings us back to that powerful statement. I don't give a FK so long as I can walk. What do you think she meant by that?
I think she was drawing a line in the sand,
Yeah.
She was declaring that she was no longer going to let those societal pressures dictate her relationship with her body.
Mm-hmm.
Her focus had shifted to functionality, mobility, and feeling good in her own skin.
It's a rejection of the idea that our bodies are solely for aesthetic purposes.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that our bodies are these incredible machines that allow us to experience life.
Right.
To move, to connect, to create.
And to enjoy a delicious pastry or two.
Right. She's not about to deprive herself of life's little pleasures.
Exactly.
And I think that's an important part of self-acceptance, too. It's not about being perfect or adhering to these rigid rules.
Right.
It's about finding a balance that works for you and allows you to live a fulfilling life.
It's about giving yourself grace and permission to enjoy the things that bring you joy.
Exactly. And ultimately, I think that's the message Dawn is trying to convey. She's encouraging us to reject societal pressures, embrace our bodies, and live a life that feels authentic and true to ourselves.
It's a powerful message,
Yeah.
and one that I think we can all benefit from hearing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up our deep dive into Dawn's weight loss journey,
Okay.
I'd like to circle back to something we touched upon earlier.
Okay.
The societal expectations that are placed on women, especially those in the public eye.
Right, because it seems like no matter what a woman does, she's always going to be judged.
It's true.
If she's too thin, she's unhealthy or obsessed with her appearance.
Right?
If she's not thin enough, she's letting herself go or not taking care of her health. It's a no-win situation.
It really is, and it speaks to this pervasive double standard that we still see in our society.
Yeah.
Women are constantly bombarded with messages about how they should look,
Right.
while men are often given much more leeway.
It's like there's this underlying expectation that women should always be striving to achieve this unattainable ideal of beauty,
Yeah.
while men are free to just be themselves.
It's exhausting, isn't it?
It really is.
It creates this immense pressure on women to conform to these, unrealistic standards.
It can have a really damaging impact on their self-esteem and mental health.
Yeah.
It's no wonder that so many women struggle with body image issues.
It's a real epidemic, and it's something we need to be talking about more openly and honestly.
I agree, and I think Dawn French's willingness to be so candid about her own experiences is incredibly valuable.
Oh, for sure.
She's showing us that it's okay to be vulnerable,
Yeah.
to talk about our struggles, and to challenge the status quo.
She's a real role model in that sense.
She is.
She's not afraid to be herself, flaws and all, and she's using her platform to advocate for self-acceptance and body positivity.
It's incredibly inspiring, and it's a message that I think resonates with people of all ages and backgrounds.
I think so too. Now, before we move on to the final part of our exploration of Dawn's journey,
Okay.
let's take a moment to reflect on what we've discussed so far.
Sounds good.
What has stood out to you the most about Dawn's story?
For me, it's her unwavering commitment to her own truth. She's not afraid to speak her mind, challenge societal norms, and embrace her body on her own terms.
I love that, and it really speaks to her strength and resilience.
Right. She's faced criticism,
Yeah.
scrutiny, and even deception.
Right.
But she's never wavered in her commitment to self-love and acceptance.
It's a powerful reminder that we all have the power to define our own worth and to create a life that feels authentic and true to ourselves.
Absolutely.
Well, listeners, we're going to take a short break here.
Okay.
When we come back, we'll wrap up our exploration of Dawn French's journey and discuss the key takeaways we can all apply to our own lives.
Sounds good.
Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back, everyone. It's been quite a journey exploring Dawn French's weight loss story.
It really has, hasn't it?
We've covered her motivations, the backlash she faced, that wild fake keto ad,
Right.
and her inspiring shift towards self-acceptance.
It's been eye-opening, for sure.
Yeah, it really has.
You know, we often talk about these societal pressures and body image in a general sense, but having a specific story like Dawn's really brings those abstract ideas to life.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this exploration,
Okay.
I'm wondering what you see as the core message here. What can we, as listeners, take away from Dawn's experience and apply to our own lives?
Well, for me, the biggest takeaway is the importance of defining your own narrative,
Okay.
Dawn's weight loss journey was driven by her health needs,
Right.
not by trying to fit into some external mold.
Right.
She made choices that were right for her, regardless of what anyone else thought.
And even when she faced those backhanded, "you look so well" comments,
Oh, yeah.
she didn't let them shake her.
Right.
She held firm to the fact that she hadn't done this for anyone's approval but her own.
Exactly. And that takes us to a deeper point, I think.
Okay.
Self-acceptance, it isn't some passive state.
Yeah.
It's an active choice.
Right.
Dawn didn't just happen to become comfortable with her body at any size.
Right.
She made a conscious decision to reject those societal pressures that try to tell us how we should look.
Which, let's be honest, is a constant battle.
It is.
Especially for women. Those messages are everywhere.
Yeah, they are.
But Dawn's story gives me hope.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe we can reclaim that power over our own bodies and self-image.
Absolutely. And that's where the whole "I don't give a FK so long as I can walk" statement becomes so crucial.
Yes.
It's not about neglecting health.
Right.
It's about reframing our priorities.
Okay.
Function over form, well-being over fitting some arbitrary ideal.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like she's saying, my body is a tool, not just an ornament.
Exactly.
It's there to let me experience life, not just to be looked at.
Precisely. And when you think about it, that applies to so much more than just weight. It's about finding joy in movement, honoring what our bodies can do,
Yeah.
and not getting caught in that trap of constantly striving for some perfect image.
You mentioned earlier that societal expectations are particularly harsh on women in the public eye.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that adds another layer of complexity to Dawn's story?
Without a doubt. You
Yeah.
know, she's navigating these pressures, not just as a woman,
Right.
but as a woman whose career depends on being seen, being judged, being funny.
Right.
To still choose that radical self-acceptance in that environment, I mean, it's even more remarkable.
It makes her message even more powerful, doesn't it?
It does.
Like, if she can do it while literally being in the spotlight,
Right.
maybe we can all find ways to tune out that noise and embrace our authentic selves.
I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the whole fake keto ad incident,
Right.
it also ties into this.
Okay.
It highlights how vulnerable we are to those quick fix promises,
Yeah.
especially when they're wrapped up in celebrity endorsements.
Yeah. It's a reminder to be critical, to question everything.
That's right.
Do our own research.
Yes.
Before buying into any claims, especially when it comes to our health.
Exactly. And that brings us to, like, the core of what I think Dawn French's journey represents,
Okay.
a reclaiming of agency.
Ooh, I like that.
You know, she's
Right.
taking back control of her narrative, her body, her health,
Mm-hmm.
and encouraging us to do the same.
That's such a great way to put it. It's not just about weight loss.
No.
It's about owning our choices, embracing our imperfections,
Yeah.
and finding joy in the journey, wherever it may lead.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, I think we've truly unpacked this story from every angle.
I think we have.
It's been an inspiring dive into a topic that, let's face it, affects us all in some way.
It really does, yeah.
So as we wrap up today's deep dive, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us
Of course.
and for listening to this exploration of Dawn French's weight loss journey.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you found it as thought-provoking as we did,
I hope so.
and that it's encouraged you to think a little bit deeper about your own relationship with body image and self-acceptance.
Me too.
Until next time, take care of yourselves,
And be kind to yourselves.
and we'll see you on the next deep dive.
See ya.